let's dive in here. So we're going to talk about how Make a Will Month became one of the most important moments of all of modern fundraising, and then how do we actually make the most of it? So we're going to dive in. We're going to do some quick logistics. As you might have guessed, this is approved for 1.0 CFRE credits. How do you get that? At the end of the session, we're going to drop a survey in the chat, fill that out. So please do that. We will send the recordings and the slides around later today if you need them. So just look for that. Here's the agenda. Again, slides will be sent around later today. Quick intros. My name is Patrick. I'm lucky to be the co-founder, co-CEO of FreeWill, alongside my wonderful co-founder, Jenny. Again, I'm in Brooklyn. Jenny's in the great city of Seattle. This is what I look like with a much bigger beard. Gentlemen, I don't know if you ever had this experience. I had this experience this morning where I got on a Zoom call and thought, oh, I need to shave soon. But that hasn't happened because it's been a busy morning. So maybe we'll get back to the Amish level. We'll see. FreeWill is the number one estate planning and plan giving solution in the United States, most used by people and also most used by nonprofits, ranging from our dear friends at the Red Cross and the American Heart Association, all the way to small local animal shelters, and now working with people all around the world on grant writing, which is super fun. Team is amazing, and a lot of them get extra credit for helping out today. In particular, our partner success team, who has done amazing things over almost 6, 7 years now on Make a Will Month, and then also my dear friend and colleague Phoebe, who puts a ton of effort and research into making this as happy as possible and as helpful as possible for you all. So thanks, Phoebe. You can give Phoebe a shout out in the chat if you want. Oh, one last thing I forgot to ask as we slowly get through intros is anyone's birthday today? And uh, if it is, do you have a selection for what genre our theme song is next week? So put that in the chat as we do this. Again, lots of great stuff, lots of fundraising experience. Couple more things before we get rolling. One, we love you all. We would like to show that by sharing one of my favorite summer reads, which is um, a uh, a great book by Elena Ferrante, which the New York Times called the best book of the century. So if that's not, don't take my word for it, as LeVar would say. Um, but we will send this out to 20 people. Great summer read. Oh, Maya says it's her favorite book. So uh, take Maya's word for it. Take the New York Times word for it. Take other folks. A lot of folks have it. Great. It's one of these books that, by the way, if you get it at your local library, you're going to be like 97 on the wait list right now. So us sending it to you would be very, very helpful. No birthdays so far, which is sort of surprising. There we go. Louise Zingaro, happy birthday. Let's get some blues next week. I'm going to make a little note for blues. Let me know if you have a favorite city of blues origin. And we'll get you some St. Louis or Chicago or New York or New Orleans blues. We'll do that. All right, how's your week going? Hey, generally great. We're having a great week. Nice job, everybody. Highest on record for the last 12 months, which is super exciting. Christine, her birthday was on the 12th, which is my birthday. So happy birthday, Christine. But we are locked in for blues now. Memphis Blues, unless Louise has a different. Rebecca Locke says Memphis, so we're writing that down. All right, let's keep going. Apologies, feeling a little distracted by the excitement around the blues song for 2 weeks from now. Also, how confident we are about hitting our goals. Ooh, we're back up to the high of this calendar year. So lots of good things happening. Lots of good things happening. Really exciting. Let's dive in here and talk about the mysterious history of Make a Will Month. Rebecca Locke, I just saw you here, and I will say that we first found out about Make a Will Month from the Red Cross. So if you have any extra info on the origins of Make a Will Month, please add that here. Okay, so Make a Will Month origin story. It is, to be honest, it is a mystery to us, despite being the number one evangelist in the world of Make a Will Month. So as far as we can tell, and we've scoured the entire history of the internet, in 2009, a small local law firm began promoting Make a Will Month to their clients. That is the earliest known artifact on the internet suggesting Make a Will Month. We'll show you this in a second. Rebecca, who is, by the way, the wonderful, brilliant senior director of gift planning at the Red Cross, says she heard it came out of the Arizona Gift Planning Council. So if you're from Arizona and the Plan Giving Council, let us know and we'll give you your flowers, as the kids say. In 2012, Maryland law firm Bird and Bird references it in a client newsletter. 2013, Rocket Lawyer tries to turn April into Make a Will Month. Turns out April is for taxes, ladies and gentlemen. So that never caught on. But here's our we went deep. So this is 13 years ago. You can see a newsletter from Bird and Bird, which I believe is a Maryland-based law firm. It says, do you and your members of your family have appropriate estate planning documents? Did you know that August is Make-A-Will month? That means there's no better time. There's a whole other article in this newsletter about Wii bowling. Whoever, I don't know if anyone misses Wii bowling. And there's this law firm, little bit on Make-A-Will month, and then a much deeper bit on if you thought the Wii gaming system was just for kids, it's time to think again. The popular video game system by Nintendo is taking the senior community by storm. Many have been surprised to know how enthusiastically senior citizens have joined the electronic gaming world across Americans. Seniors are having a blast in front of the big screen, and obviously this image didn't survive the 13 years between that. But look, I was big on Wii tennis. I think Wii tennis was my gateway drug to playing a lot of pickleball today. All right, so let's go back. So now it's August of 2013. We find that Reed Wilson Case, which is a Connecticut firm, declares National Make-A-Will Month in a blog post. August 14th, AARP, first big major media note, publishes a blog stating, so August is Make-A-Will Month, who knew? August 15th, you start to see this more in law firms. And 2019, FreeWill launches its first Make-A-Will Month campaign focused on encouraging plan giving at, I believe, the suggestion of the Red Cross, who had sent it out previously. So very, very, very interesting there. Now we are gonna stay. Oh, in Canada, Darren says in Canada, Make-A-Will Month is also different by some provinces, that is wild. It's not it's sort of strange. It's not a time zone. So maybe Darren, we can team up and make standardized Canada across August and get the whole. Well, we'll get Mexico on board too. Get the whole continent on board. So let's talk about why Make-A-Will Month matters more than ever in 2025. It is the most important year for Make-A-Will Month, and that will, by the way, be even more true next year and the year following. The reason, number one, is you have this massive macro trend. The great wealth transfer is happening right now. We are in the early stages of the largest intergenerational wealth transfer in history. More than 124 trillion is expected to change hands from baby boomers to younger generations over the next 2 decades. And nonprofits that prioritize legacy giving are better positioned than ever before at any point in any moment in any history to benefit from this once in a lifetime, but it's really more of a once in ever opportunity. Why is this happening? Boomers own an enormous amount of wealth. It is this giant pastel green circle that symbolizes the most wealth held by any generation at any point in any country in any era. $124 trillion. Where's this money going? Whoops, let's go back. Bunch of it's going to go to other boomers. Some it's going to go to Gen X. We see Gen X. Some it's going to go to millennials. And then this estimate is 18 trillion to charity. I think that is far too aggressive, but we are talking about trillions and trillions of dollars over the next 20 years to go to charity. Millennials also, a lot of these are millennial parents, which means you're going to have a lot of millennial major donors coming up over the next few years as millennials inherit money. We will talk about that more in a different webinar. So we're really focused on plan giving and the Great Wealth Transfer. Now, why does this happen? Why does this happen? Well, it turns out you've seen this slide before, but I really wish I could just get every executive director and board member to stare at this slide for 20 minutes and deeply internalize it. The most important thing to know about American demographics, and by the way, for our Canadian friends and European friends, this looks very similar, Australia as well. Other parts of the world may be less similar. But you have a generation called the silent generation. It is tiny. Why? Fewer people had kids during the Great Depression. And then as you got into World War II, you had folks who were often married couples who were separated and therefore having fewer children, as you might imagine. War ends in 1945. 9 months later, a lot of babies start showing up. That's how babies work. 1946, all the way through 1964. And then why does it go back down? Well, it turns out that if you have fewer parents, you have fewer children. So that small silent generation had the smaller Gen X. Still lovable, still wonderful Gen X, but undisputably smaller. And then millennials go back up. Why millennials? Because you had more parents to have more kids, right? So boomers, but look at this. I mean, boomers way bigger than the preceding generation, way bigger than the following generation, which makes this once in a ever situation. You look at how many folks are over 65, and you look at this over time. I mean, you can see how big this jump is between 2020 and 2030. I mean, just a huge chunk. And compare this to 2010, which isn't that long ago, and you see a pretty short double, a pretty quick doubling across the board. So pretty wild to know. Um, we're starting to see a lot of information about this, right? And a lot of, it's really the thing that everybody's talking about. And frankly, everyone would be talking about even more if everyone wasn't talking about AI to an even greater degree. There's a great cover story. Our friend Bobby Collier, great gentleman from the American Cancer Society, is quoted as saying, at the ACS, realized gifts are now one of the largest items in the charity budget, averaging $170 million per year, more than a quarter of revenue. The charity made a strategic decision to expand its plan giving team after receiving an unexpected surge in bequests, says Bobby Collier, who's now been at the charity for 25 years and oversees a team of more than 35 plan giving officers. Bobby's a great guy if you've got a chance to meet him. So how do we know this is real? Why do we think this is happening? And it's because baby boomers hold more wealth than any previous generation in American history, not necessarily because older generations are inherently wealthier. So say it with me, baby boomers are wealthier. It is not only the case that older generations are wealthier. Boomers have lived through outstanding economic performance and a series of things that have all teamed up to make them enormously wealthy. Not everyone, right? We're not saying that every boomer is enormously wealthy, but as a generation, and on average, it is just considerably wealthier than any other generation. So let's talk about why. First, housing prices. Those of you that have unfortunately tried to buy a home in the last 5 years know that housing prices have shot up, and many boomers own homes that are paid off and valued at more than $1 million, despite not paying that amount for it. Nearly half of all baby boomers purchased their first home between 25 and 34, compared to 37% of millennials in the same age range. So half of those boomers owned homes 25 to 34. Those homes have now been paid off for 30 years. And as you might have guessed, a decent amount of appreciation. Bonus trend here, women will control most of the great wealth transfer. So over half of women over 65 are unmarried or widowed. Women on average live 6 years longer than men. And in heterosexual relationships, women tend to marry men that are a couple years on average, not always, but on average, that are a couple years older. And so you have this really big gap, and you have far more widows than widowers in the world. Of course, some of those 65 plus folks are either never married, divorced, separated, other things as well, but huge amounts of control over the assets, right? You see life expectancy at birth. You saw a big dip in 2020 and 2021, but this has since recovered, as you might have guessed. Um, and you can see here median age at first marriage. So historically, it's so interesting how persistent that age gap has stayed. It was a little bit bigger in the 50s, but starting in the 80s, it's pretty tight, but it's still a couple years, right? So you're looking at, on average, a male spouse in a heterosexual relationship is 2 years older than a female spouse. Trend two, most Americans do not have an estate plan. According to Caring.com's 2024 will survey, only a quarter of adults have a will, down 42% in 2017. Feels a little bit low, but still just crazy to see. Why would not have a will? One, didn't get around to it, procrastination. Two, maybe I don't have enough assets. Three, I don't know how to get started. But this is enormous because what happens in the absence of a will? The state decides where the money goes, and exactly $0 of that goes to charity. So it's very important, right? We looked at caring.com, say, what do you have? Some people have a will. Now you have more folks with a living trust. Some people have a different estate planning document. Some people don't know. Some people prefer not to say. But overall, more than half of the folks said they have no estate planning documents. Much smaller portion said, hey, I don't know. Come back to this. Make a Will Month offers an opportunity for clearing the estate planning hurdle. Most people aren't against creating a estate plan, they just haven't gotten around to it, as evidenced by this picture on the right. But there are certain life events that prompt individuals to take action. So why did you make an estate plan when we asked, or when Caring.com asked, excuse me? They got some media or online coverage, the death of a loved one, a family expansion. You had two kids, you had a new grandchild, upcoming travel. What if both of us go down on the plane? You bought a new home, you got a diagnosis, or retirement or some age-related milestone, 30 or 40%. But what we find here is that when reminded, people will do it. Now, for those without one, many people have talked about to a loved one, researched online, wrote down a basic plan, talked to a lawyer, but many people have not even thought about it. And so, what is magical about Make a Will Month? It's a time-bound event. hey, let's get it done this August. We know you have to do it, and we're all doing it together. Um, so we'll come back to that in a moment. Trend three, what makes plan giving even more important? The decline of small dollar donors. Many nonprofits are losing their small annual donors. Micro and small donors make up 80% of all donors, but fewer chose to give in 2024. Micro donors were down 8.8%, small donors were down 4% year over year. Giving USA reported that individual giving actually declined in 2023, when adjusted for inflation. And in 2023, which is the latest fully reported year, guess what? Next year's report comes out in like a week, 10 days, something like that for Giving USA. So we'll keep a close eye on that. But giving by bequest was the only source that outpaced inflation in terms of increases. So you can see bequests are becoming more important compared to all other types of giving. Here's what it looks like. You see bequests up a bit, corporations down, et cetera. 2021, you saw some drops there. But in 22 and 23, it's the only portion um, that outpaced inflation. So you can see how important it's going to become. Of the $43 billion in bequest giving, a lot of it came from estates valued at 10 million. Big chunks came from smaller estates, 1 to 10, and then 18% came from estates valued at less than 1 million. Now, this big number is the highlight, it's sort of 59%, but there is enormous value to be created in small estates and small dollar donors, this sort of 23 and 18%. This is the most underutilized portion of plan giving. Historically, we haven't asked these folks to make planned gifts. We haven't given them the tools to do so. And there are enormous sums of value there as well. In difficult fundraising environments, this is the most predictable funding source, right? Demographics are destiny. They do not change. Boomers are entering their prime estate planning years. The oldest boomers are approaching 80 years old. The oldest boomers will turn 80 years old next year. The youngest boomers born 64 are, let's see, I guess they are 61 this year. Um, and so they are retirement age, but 80 at the top end. Really big chunk of folks across the board. Planned giving is going to be the largest source of giving among small dollar donors over the next 10 years. You have huge numbers of folks who could be giving, who instead of giving you $10 could give you $300,000, and we just need to make the most of it. Also, when someone includes a nonprofit in their estate plan, and most people don't know this, their annual giving to that nonprofit increases by about 75%. So it's a huge immediate value even for folks that are going to live for another 40 or 50 years. So how did this become a major moment for giving, right? How did Make a Will Month become an absolutely can't miss event across the board with participants ranging from volunteer-led tiny organizations to the world's largest nonprofit enterprises? Well, it started with a simple idea, right? We made our first big effort in this in 2019. It was a quiet time on the fundraising calendar, and Make a Will Month was already an established but extremely poorly known national event. This campaign gave nonprofits an easy, timely way to start planned giving conversations. And the first year showed so much promise that each year since has allowed us to fine tune what works. So now we want to share what works with you and how this happens. It now has become a fixture on fundraising calendars across the United States and across the world. Thousands of organizations now participate in Make a Will Month every year. Make a Will Month has entered the donor consciousness like Giving Tuesday does, but for legacy giving. It now serves as a yearly opportunity to remind supporters of the mission and invite them to create an impact beyond their lifetime. This is FreeWill's seventh Make a Will Month, and every year continues to get better and better. So Make a Will Month in August, does it work? The answer is yeah, wow. It honestly is surprising to me all the time how well this works. So last year, $360 million was raised in bequest commitments across FreeWill and partner branded pages, and obviously more was raised on other avenues. 24,000 estate plans were made in August alone, and 4.4 thousand different planned gifts happened. Every year, at least 300 million is committed through FreeWill's site, but it's also all around the country in different ways of making wills. And so there's even better news. I mean, we would like to be getting Make a Will Month to $1 billion planned giving effort relatively soon. Making sense. Why is this happening? Well, it turns out it's the best outreach campaign, it's the best time to email folks. And it's a couple key factors. One, more nonprofits are participating. So more people are hearing about it, which means more people are prompted to create a will, more people are leaving a planned gift, oftentimes to multiple charities. Increased visibility and conversation around estate planning in August has created a cultural moment, leading to a planned giving boost. Now, one of the interesting things here is that it actually almost creates a penalty for folks that are not participating. Because if five charities are all reminding people in August, hey, you should make a will, and by the way, you should include us, but your charity isn't, there's a risk that the will gets made and your charity gets left out. So we strongly encourage participation. You can see here these huge blue spikes in terms of overall traffic to the website. 1 million people coming to check out Make a Will Month and start estate planning in 24 and 23 as well. I mean, just enormous amounts compared to other things. August 24, I mean, you can see how much this big spike is in terms of giving compared to other months as well. So 3 plan giving practices to keep in mind. First, plan giving is not just for a small group of donors. These gifts don't impact day-to-day finances. They're an accessible giving option for supporters regardless of wealth. You can start with a broad messaging to educate your entire audience about this way of giving, and you can always segment future outreach based on age, wealth, or giving history. But the most important thing is the bigger the audience, the more you'll be successful. Now, many of you have heard of the giving pyramid. We start with maybe you sign up on the website or you visit the website. Maybe you make a small donation or you sign a petition, then a small donation, then a monthly donation, then you come to an event, then you're a major giver, and then you're a plan giving donor all the way to the top. What I'm here to tell you is that the pyramid is nonsense, right? You have plenty of people who have not made gifts of anything over $100 or no gifts at all who are making $50, $100, $300,000 bequests. And the really important thing is to paint this or draw this wide circle around the folks you talk to, and you will be stunned at how good your results are. Super, super important. Best practice number 2, focus on impact. Talking about plan giving can feel uncomfortable, so focus on what it makes possible. Highlight how legacy creates lasting impact for a mission that your donors already love. Remind supporters that making a will also protects the people they care about most, and reinforce that leaving a gift in a will is meaningful and does not cost a single penny today. All of these things will result in significantly more giving. Best practice 3, help donors take action. Many people don't realize how simple it is to write or update a will. That's because there are still barriers, cost, confusion, procrastination, and you'll see better results when you actually give people a way to give. So use Make a Will Month to remind them why a will matters and show them how easy it can be. When you provide accessible tools, more people complete their plans and more people make legacy gifts. Your number one blocker to plan giving is not getting people to care about your organization. They already do. It's getting them to make an estate plan while remembering your organization in the process. So a couple of things you might use. First is people can make a will online free through freewill.com. You might offer a list of trusted local estate planning attorneys. You might do a will making workshop or a webinar. You might do a printable estate planning checklist. All of these things are great avenues. We'd obviously love for you to work with FreeWill. We would love you so much, even if you don't, right? So these are all good avenues, many of them free or extremely low cost. How do we talk about Make a Will Month to our supporters and the people that love us so much? Well, a lot of folks want to start a will, but they don't know where to start. So this August, your job is to give them a reason to make a will and make it easier for them to take action. You want to use existing channels, emails, social media, newsletters to normalize will making, emphasize the impact of a planned gift, offer accessible next steps. We're all doing it. We're all doing it this month. It's much easier than you think. And by the way, if you want to include a gift to us, that would be wonderful, but you're under no pressure to do so. Some thoughtful planned giving language. August is National Make a Will Month. Have you created your will yet? It's one of the most important ways to protect your loved ones and create a legacy that reflects your values. Example 2, including a gift in your will is a powerful way to support X, and it costs you nothing today. Effective plan giving messaging in online ads, right? So we've tested this. One of the pieces of language that works super well is even if you plan to live to 150, you still need a will. Get started today. Why does this work? It gently teases the audience, right? It says, you think you're going to live forever? No problem. but you probably still need a will no matter what, right? It's a very gentle and fun way of describing it. Other effective messaging, especially if you have older donors on your list. Say something like supporters of our organization from 18 to 88 choose to include us in their will or trust. This means that older donors don't feel targeted. Younger donors feel included. Everyone thinks this is for me. And then we offer information on how to join them as well. How do we actually drive action? A free on Willmaker, right? Online Willmaker is great. A DIY kit, these are less good. There are some paid online will providers, also fine. And a list of trusted local estate attorneys, also great, right? So these are a bunch of good avenues here. Here's a couple of examples of what you can use. Uh, Here's an example. Just moving my video so I can read it for y'all. Have you considered this heartfelt legacy? Dear Jane, August is National Make a Will Month, a perfect time to consider how your legacy can make a lasting impact on the lives of animals in the Austin Humane Society. By including us in your estate plan, you ensure that your love for pets continues well beyond your lifetime. Join other compassionate supporters. This join other people is really important, who have chosen to create a brighter future for our furry friends. Your plan gifts can provide shelter, medical care, and loving homes for countless animals in need. Are you ready to take the first step? Create your estate plan today. Here's our resource page. Thank you for considering a legacy that speaks to your love of animals, right? Really thoughtful, gentle language. Juma says this is powerful. Catherine says the examples are so helpful. Thank you again, Phoebe, for putting this example together. Really great. Here's some more sample language. Dear Jane, do you know that more than half of US adults don't have a will? For many people, it's something they've been meaning to do, but just haven't gotten around to. This is going to click in your donor's brain. Oh, that's me. That describes me. That's why August is recognized as National Make a Will Month. It's a reminder to take this important step for the people and causes you care about. Creating or updating a will is one of the most powerful ways to protect loved ones and reflect your values. It's also an opportunity to leave a lasting gift to a nonprofit that's meaningful to you. If you haven't made a will yet or need to update an old one, because a lot of people have wills that need updating, we've gathered a few simple tools to help you get started, et cetera, et cetera. Pardon me. Thank you for everyone. Thank you for everything you do to make the world a better place. And obviously, you might put more of your own mission language in here as well. Um, Other examples from FreeWill partners, right? So those of you that are using FreeWill or thinking about it, a great example um, from ARLGP, which I assume is a animal rights group. Uh, if there's a will, there's definitely a way. Your will is your way to protect your loved ones, including your pets, ensure your wishes are honored, even make an impact for animals in need with your legacy. FreeWill's free estate planning tool available to all supporters is simple and cost-free for you to chart your own way during National Make a Will Month. Start your will today, etc. And then join thousands of people making a will to name a guardian for your pets, protect loved ones, etc. By the way, if you're an animal shelter, by the way, this is the Animal Refuge League of Greater Portland. Thank you, Phoebe. That's what that is. If you're an animal shelter, you have to participate in Make a Will Month. Absolutely. Why is that? Because people love looking after their pets, almost more so than their kids. It's sort of a strange world. But saying, this idea of what happens to my pet if something happens to me really gets people moving on estate plans. It's so interesting. It's a little bit tougher for kids to think about that for people to think about this in the same situation with a kid involved. But for some reason, pets make it very, very accessible as well. Another August social post, and you can see here our friends in Greater Portland. There's an old saying, where there's a will, there's a way, and that's certainly true for you. Did you know that August is National Make a Will Month? It's a great time to make your own will in your own way with a free estate planning tool available to all ARLGP supporters with FreeWill HQ. Start your free will today here's the link. And then when there's a will, there's a way. So really good, powerful stuff. Super helpful. Kristen says her dog is definitely well taken care of in her will. If we have time, I will tell you about a funny story about a cat in a will. Remind me at the end if we don't get to it. Make a Will Month, example 3. Make a Will Month e-blast campaign. So, do you and your loved ones already have a will or estate plan? August is National Make a Will Month. It makes it the perfect time for your future. Creating a will is a lot like planning a successful expedition. It requires foresight, prep, understanding the legacy you wish to leave behind. Just as NOLS which I believe is something like the National Outdoor Leadership Society. Sorry to not have all of these acronyms memorized. Um, yes, National Outdoor Leadership School. Phoebe is and Jared are really helping out today. Thanks to your partnership with FreeWill, you can draft your own legally valid will in 20 minutes, no cost. Creating your will with FreeWill also provides an opportunity to perpetuate the NOLS vision, a world where leadership is rooted in wilderness skills and an ethos of environmental stewardship, et cetera, et cetera. In spirit of our founder, Paul Petzold, who was never shy of navigating uncharted terrain, we invite you to explore the opportunities presented during Make a Will Month. Just as our founders planted the seed that became NOLS, your planned gift, no matter the size, can ensure the flourishing of their vision and our mission for generations to come. I mean, this is awesome. Uh, oh, Maureen says it's not spelled out. It's Knowles. All right. So apologies to the Knowles crew. Knowles. And Courtney says Knowles is awesome. My mom did the program in the 80s. So you can imagine it's a world-changing experience for a lot of folks, and it's a great place to give this. Wendy says, I like this quote, your planned gift, no matter the size. This is really important, right? Sometimes one of the problems with the word estate is it sounds like a castle in Scotland, and people think, "Oh, I don't have that. I don't need an estate plan." Everybody needs an estate plan, but having this, it's okay for a $500 gift. It's okay for a $5 million gift. It's okay for a $50 million gift. This is all very, very valuable. All right, so we're going to pause there. We're going to get to some questions because we have a little bit of extra time, but I want to share a couple of resources first and foremost. So Phoebe, again, big shout out to Phoebe for all her help today, is dropping a survey in the chat. First thing in this is we're giving away 20 copies of this book, which honestly is one of my favorites. Although I wouldn't have called it the number one book of the century, but the New York Times can do that if it wishes. So you get a chance to get a copy. I'll be curious to know what you think the book of the century is. We can talk about that later. Two, on Tuesday next week, so Thursday, which we would normally do this on, is Juneteenth, and we hope everyone is celebrating that well. So next Tuesday, we have a special session on how to plan for financial uncertainty through planning. And we're going to hear some real world stories from special guests of how plan gifts provide critical support during economic uncertainty. So if you are someone who is responsible for plan giving, or you have someone who owns plan giving in your organization, this is a great thing to send them to, especially around financial downturns or where we really are, which is financial uncertainty. I think there's a huge variance of where the rest of the year goes. So come check that out. Other things to happen here is next full webinar is in 2 weeks. So July, nope, 3 weeks, excuse me, because we will be not doing one for July 4th week, and many of you will not be available. And we are going to dive in on demystifying foundation grants, how to secure funding from major private foundations. And we also have some special guests who are leaders at major private foundations there. So we'll be able to ask them anything and really get to the bottom of how do you actually get a lot more money from private foundations. So we would love to have you there as well. We are going to do maybe 5 minutes of questions, then we'll pause a little bit early. So I'm going to stop sharing. And there are some really good questions here. Uh, Tana, I think I'm saying your name right, but apologies if it's not. Do you recommend asking for a percentage versus a dollar amount? This is an incredibly important question. Thank you so much for asking it. This might even be the most important question in plan giving. Always, 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 always ask for a percentage. The percentage gifts are often 6 to 8 times larger than specific cash gifts. And this is because most people don't estimate their estates appropriately, and they guard against being very low on money at the end of life. And so it is once in a while you'll get a gift that would have been larger than a specific amount, but you will virtually always get a larger gift from percentages. Your largest estate plan gifts are always going to be percentage gifts. Please lock that in your brain right now. So great question. Holly, US only, would extend to Canada or Australia. I would extend it. So FreeWill's tools only work for American organizations right now, but Make a Will Month is a great use. And you might say, is it Make a Will Month in Australia? Just to be clear, if you say it's Make a Will Month, it's Make a Will Month. That's how Make a Will Month started in the United States. Do that as well. So great questions. If someone already has a will, should they use FreeWill to update it? Mary, most lawyers will tell you that codicils are not a good idea across the board. So we help folks draft a new plan. So good question there. Um, Erica, even if you are not using a paid version of FreeWill, you can direct donors to make a FreeWill on your platform. Yes, totally free. We love you, even if we're not, uh, contractually partnered. We'd love to help there as well. Rita says, can you ask them to notify you if they do include you in your org in the will? Great idea. So if you are a free will partner, that's one of the things that shows up in your portal. So you know the minute someone puts you in their will, with their permission, by the way. But if not, you do want to ask folks as well. Great questions. Is there a typical percentage ask? It really varies. One other thing that we haven't gotten to here is that people who are not married and don't have kids tend to leave far larger gifts. So you want to think of those folks as great plan giving prospects. And I wouldn't recommend a percentage because a lot of people will leave quite a bit. Check that out. Great questions. Andrea says, does anyone put plan giving revenue goals in their budgets? At larger organizations, you often have plan giving goals in the budget because after a little while, you can expect to get at least a certain amount of bequests every year. Those of you that do this quite often, you will start to get predictability and it becomes a huge benefit to the organization. It can also be what really starts an endowment. And so if you're a smaller organization trying to figure out how you get on really sound long-term financial footing, this is a great avenue for that. Can I explain why codicils are not advisable? Um, Linda, I'm not an attorney, so I will speak very quickly on this, but people often find that codicils can create some conflicts with the existing will, and in many ways, redoing the will is most appropriate. Um, Jay, can you just refer to a percentage without a recommendation? Yes, you can do that as well. In the FreeWill tools, we offer a range of percentages as well. Um, Seema says, what are the benefits of the paid version versus the free version? Oh, great question. Paid version is frankly very useful because what you get in the paid version is a custom version of freewill.com. So instead of the general website, freewill.com slash Red Cross, freewill.com slash WWF, freewill.com slash Colgate, whatever the organization is. At that URL, donors are specifically suggested to donate to your organization. Your EIN, your address, everything's built in already. One click, 20% gift or something like that to your organization. On the back end, you get a full database of what's happening, all sorts of analytics. When people say yes, share my information, you'll get immediate contact information. And then we have a whole partner support team that helps you run amazing campaigns to drive tons of gifts. So that's what that is. Um, Oh, Shirley says, do you have ideas on how to make a workshop or donor meeting during Make a Will Month successful? Creative ideas. Great question. A lot of people will hold events with a local attorney to ask questions. One thing I will say is that August is a great time for digital outreach because you have a lot of people on vacation with their families, and they're happy to do it then. It may be a little bit of a harder time for an in-person event, depending on your community and whether your community is sticking around all August as well. So good questions there. Someone asked about the cat story. So this is a story I heard from Brian Peterson. Brian Peterson, if you don't know, is a brilliant plan giving leader at Human Rights Watch. And one thing that he came across over his career is a somebody left a bunch of money to support their cat when they passed away. And so a friend was in charge of taking care of the cat. And for every month that the cat lived, that friend would get a relatively large stipend to take care of the cat. And then at some point, the family said, wow, this cat is living a long time, like longer than cats usually live. And it turned out that this individual had replaced the cat several times over, painted a little bit to make the cat look identical, and to sort of string out these cat payments. So, it's a wild world and people are crazy sometimes, but very, very devious. And Edna says, love him, worked in uh, in LA. Matt says, talk about nine lives, which is my favorite joke of the day. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll wrap up there. We'll give everyone 13 minutes back. Have a wonderful week. We'll see many of you next Tuesday for that deep dive on how plan giving can help during a financial uncertainty. And we'll see many of you in early July diving in on grants and sort of what private foundations are even looking for when they do this. But have a wonderful week, wonderful weekend. Love all the work you all do. I'm so grateful for our team. As expected, someone asks whether the recording will be available. Yes, we will send you the recording. We will send you the slides. We will send you an invite for the next few events. We will send you the survey. If you haven't filled it out already, please do. We will send you the book, but we also love your feedback. And we'll see you in next webinar, early July. Memphis Blues on the docket. So have a great week and talk to y'all soon.